So here we have the famous letter from Sir Francis Drake to Queen Elizabeth, letting her know that the English fleet had defeated the Spanish Armada in the 1580s. And this is written in the secretary hand script of the time, which now 500 years later is a bit tricky to read, and I saw a lot of people on Reddit were saying it looks like chicken scratching, so I thought it might be fun to decipher. Well, we know what it says. You can look that up and Google it, but be nice to explain exactly how he formed the letters. So rather than get into a long, boring thing, let's just do it. So the first word here is the, and this is a very stylized T, which would normally go something like that. And then H's are completely different. H's are like this sort of thing here. So in this case, he wrote the capital T, then he wrote the H, and then the E for the is here, but he decided to be flourishing and add a little line here and wrote the. So basically this big circle going down here and the line up and they is simply the word the. Then we get into the absence. He's talking about the absence of his the admiral who was away, and that's why he took advantage to write the letter himself. So A's tend to, instead of a little a here, there's a big flourish here as well. So you get this big stick, the A. This is B. S's are beautiful. They're these long, sinewy letters, not like the letter S we have today, which is boring in my opinion. And there's actually several S's, which we'll see. So the absence, and it looks like he spelt that. Some of the spelling, again, this is early modern English. It's the same as Shakespeare, so it's very understandable, but they're a little bit loosey-goosey on the spelling. And I don't think there was a Webster's dictionary, so they had a lot of leeway on how they wrote words. So again, absence is A, B, S, another A, and then N, C, E. Okay, you got to work with me on that. Now the C's are, we'll see another C later. C's are not the normal C's. They look like an R, pretty much, like a modern day R. But anyway, this is absence. Now this is of, the absence of. So that's the O, of course. And now, okay, it looks like an S. Normally the S would be crossed to make an F. But in this case, he just put an S with a little curl here, which makes it an F, which is a bit of a stretch, but that's how he did it, and obviously she could read it. Then this is my. This is a weird one. So this is M with a long stick here, a little M, and I'm so surprised because normally the Y's are written with lots of flourish. This Y was so small, but that's the word my. And then Lord. So this is Lord. So this is a very nice L, O. Now his R's are not like Shakespeare's R's, which look like little W's in my opinion, but this Sir Francis Drake's R's look like an E actually here, or it's like the Shakespeare's R, but he's turned it over on its side somewhat. And then D is the little D here, but then they always have a big flourish, and he always likes to superimpose on the previous letters, which makes it a bit tricky to read sometimes. And then here we have the word admiral, but again we have another A. I don't know if that's a capital A or just a different way, but it looks like a musical note, but that's the A. Another D, an M, I, Looks like he actually dotted the I. He doesn't normally do that. And then almost like a modern day scripted R, and then a regular A, and then this is a flourishing L, but in the printed versions I've seen, they say he's written this with a double L, so you got to work with it. But anyway, it's the word admiral. So basically he's saying, again, so the absence of my Lord Admiral, and because this guy was a noble, and Sir Francis Drake, although he was knighted, was not a noble, he has to be very deferential, so he's saying his most gracious sovereign. So here, most, let's try and decipher most. Most is the M here, but he's put this big flourish, I guess because he's referring to his superior, who's a noble. So that's the M, and this is an O. Now the S again is here, S, and then when you write an S and a T together, you just run it all together. So this is the T, looks like a number 2 here, so this is S, T, M, fancy M, O, S, T, and then there's really no space. He gets right into most gracious. So this is a G. Now, they tend to look like Y's, so Shakespeare would normally put a bar across the top to make it sure it's a G, but Sir Francis Drake doesn't do that. Then he used a more modern R, and then a modern A, and then a T, and then I-O-U-S. The S at the end is a bit different, but it looks like the paper's curving here, so it's very difficult to read this, so you got to trust me. It says most gracious, but when the S is at the end, it's not this long, sinewy one. It's more stout, but different than our normal modern S. So that's gracious. Then we come back to the other side here. Now, sovereign or sovereign is tricky because it's meshing in with the above here. So you got to believe me, this is the S that starts down here. And normally they just run it in one swoop to include the O. So that's S, O, but it's kind of hidden by the H here from the previous line. And now V's are completely different than our normal printed V's. And that's this B looking letter here, which is actually the V. This is E. This is the Drake R. Typical A. Now this is a very fancy Y. Look at this Y compared to this almost forgotten Y here. It's very surprising. So this is a very flourishing Y down here, and it goes all the way up, and very nice. And then this is the N, and then the E. If you do it quickly, it kind of almost looks like a theta, a Greek letter theta, but here he was writing fast, I guess, and didn't connect it. And then this thing, I guess, is something like a comma, just to break it up a bit. So again, it says, the absence of my Lord Admiral, most most gracious sovereign. And then this is hath, the old form of has, so the H. Now look at this very flourish A. Bit different, but same idea as this one. So hath, and then your T, and then the H again. So hath, this is emboldened, so E, N, B, O, L, then this nice long D, E, N, E, D, and this is emboldened me, so again M, and then the E, which he was not quite writing it the normal way. This is to, T-O, T-O, to put, it's the P, U, and now he's written put with a double T, so these are the T's here. Put my, so again, look at this M, and then a very nice Y compared to this pygmy Y again up here, which I have no idea what happened there. But don't forget, he's writing with, you know, a quill pen, probably like this, with ink, and don't forget he's on a ship. They had just had a storm, so who knows, maybe it was pretty rough. So who knows how he was trying to write this. So we got to give the guy a bit of a break. So to put my, and then over here, it's pen. So he's putting pen to paper. So P, then a big gap here before he writes pen. Instead of P-E-N, he's written it P-E-N-N-E. Now this E is more, well, he didn't connect the P, so it's sort of written on its own. And then double N, and then this P now he's writing it freehand, and it should really curl over. So these are both E's. But because this was at the beginning and not connected, he wrote it a little bit differently. So he took his pen to the paper. So to, again, the. So this is more typical the, but you can contrast that with the big flourish at the beginning of the letter. Sorry, the beginning of the letter, yeah, he used more fancy letters. So that's a more normal the. And then paper is written pretty much as we'd expect. P, A, P, and again E, and then his fancy R. But you can see this R and this E look pretty much the same, although they are in fact E and R. So that's basically the first line. Maybe that's enough for today. But basically, the absence of my Lord Admiral, most gracious sovereign, hath emboldened me to put my pen to the paper. So, I hope that helps. It's not chicken scratchings, and I'll try to post this on Reddit so it can help out some of you that were interested to learn how to decipher these very important letters that are still around today.